The following program is rated TV MALV. It contains strong language, violence, and nudity. It is intended only for mature audiences.
Here we go, Barflies. Welcome to the Barfly Tailgate Show. You already know it's done by Barflies, for Barflies, and all the other Bears fans out there. What's going on, fellas? The season came to a wrap last week, early as usual, and I'm a bit heartbroken over it. But we'll wrap all that up and talk a little bit about we have an opening in our coaching staff. So we'll talk about that and.
More than one, though, right? I mean,
yeah.
We got a few. Yeah.
One major one, but we'll talk about the guys who we know they've at least asked to interview, and maybe some guys that we don't know whether they have or not. But how's your week going, Tooch? What's going on, brother?
Well, the question on everybody's mind is: did Jordan Silvera have his coffee today?
I know I look like shit, fellas. I'm sorry. I'm always exhausted.
I'm doing all right. Had a big day yesterday with Chiefs minus 4.5, my top play, and Wisconsin Badgers, the other top play. So happy clients. And then looking forward to watching. We got two NFC Central teams playing today. We have to see how the other half of the division stacks up in the wild card playoffs. But yesterday talking about the Texans, you really saw how we're going to get all the CJ Stroud, Justin Fields comparisons after yesterday.
I already got
they're all out there. But for people who think that coaching doesn't matter, you just have to take a look at the Texans and CJ Stroud and Bobby Slowick and DeMeco Ryans, because they had a great game plan for the Browns and Joe Flacco. And Flacco, he made some plays, made some great throws. He threw guys open and stuff, but their defense couldn't stop anybody yesterday. I don't care. The pass rush wasn't there. And then you had the frozen Arrowhead Stadium, and it was all Chiefs. The Dolphins couldn't overcome the injuries on the defense. So, but we got a lot of Bears to talk about, recap season, give out some grades or whatever you want to talk about. Staff and management positions open, but other than that, doing good. AC.
Yeah, I didn't have a great day yesterday betting. I did bet Kansas City, so I got that one. But I thought that the Browns defense would have taken care of the Texans with a rookie quarterback. He hasn't played like a rookie, but I was like,
yep,
I've seen this Brown defense, and they know what the hell they're doing, but they didn't take care of business. And then Kentucky lost to Texas A&M in overtime, and
great game too.
Well,
I had Kentucky money line in that one. I was like, come on, give me the plus money, but didn't work out.
Yeah, it is what it is, but whatever.
Yep.
Watts, you looking crisp and clean down there, and got your sound figured out. How you doing this week, brother?
Oh, God, yeah. Slowly got over the loss of the Packers, really. It was more than just the it wasn't so much that, we lost them, it was just the manner what happened, and, it was so flat. But apart from that, mate, not too bad. I mean, I'm the only person who finally gets a laptop sorted out to do my show after the season finishes. So that sort of sums me up, really. But, yeah, always great to talk football with you boys, and it's always good to get Jordan out of bed really early in the morning.
Yeah.
Hey, there's no delay with Chris. This is great. His audio sounds great. Yeah.
Awesome.
Whatever you did.
That means it'll be in tip-top shape for next year.
Yeah, give the IT guy a tip for us.
Yeah. No, it was actually just buying a laptop or not using a phone.
Well, Jordan, speaking of the devil, how you doing out there, West Coast?
I'm fine, fellas. It's 7:08 in the morning. You guys like to get me up here at the crack of dawn to talk some football, but I'd rather talk football than I wouldn't rather talk football with anybody else. So I appreciate y'all having me. We can talk about anything, as you know. I'm Mr. NFL fan, but I don't, and I'm welcome to share it. But I don't think I have much nice things to say about the Bears recently. I got to be honest. I'm same old Bears. Let's just put it that way.
Yep.
Yeah, I was pretty let down. I was listening to 670 The Score when there was a whole 24 hours where nothing was happening, and they were asking, does this mean he's gone, or does it mean it's more likely he stays?
Wait, which guy? Fields or Eberflus?
Both.
I was it was more of a coaching staff.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
I was in the camp hoping that meant they were doing their due diligence and they were going to clean house and just start all over. You guys know I'm in the Bobby Slowick camp. If we couldn't get Jim Harbaugh, and we saw the way he was able to carve up that number one defense in the NFL yesterday, and I want stuff like that. Why can't we have stuff like that? You know what I'm saying? Chicago can't have nice things. I mean, we watched the Bulls bring in the Ring of Honor, and Bulls fans are booing Krause's wife.
That's terrible.
It's Bears fans can't have nice things. It's and I went on a big rant on my show Wednesday. Why is mediocre good enough? We're okay with a defensive minded head coach, and the rest of the league is offensive minded. A coach that's 1-7 against teams above 500. A coach that blew 3 10-point leads in the fourth quarter. We're okay with all of that.
That's a great point, man.
I just don't understand it, and they put it all on Getsy, and I get it. Getsy was not doing his job well, but I don't think the guys above him were either. It's not like Eberflus, you're doing fantastic, Getsy's the problem, or even Justin's the problem, either one of them. And I have a feeling, I'll just go ahead and say it, I have a feeling we just watched our last Justin Fields quarterback game for the Chicago Bears, because I just feel like they're going to look for a scapegoat. Ryan and Matt are butt buddies. There's no way that you can say that Matt is not Poles' guy after this, when he had a chance to move on. And what really pissed me off is when he said, and he probably could have been lying, but he said, yeah, we didn't even call Jim. He's Michigan's head coach. I about threw my damn phone through the wall when he said that. You're not doing your due diligence as a general manager and leaving no rock unturned if you're not at least calling him engaging interest. And again, he could have been lying or he could have had his agent call Jim's agent. So technically he didn't call Jim Harbaugh, but I just think, why is mediocre good enough? Jordan, you've been on this for a while. What are your thoughts on why Eberflus is still here? And is there anything we can salvage from this?
Evan, it's funny because I feel like you're taking the words right out of my mouth, and not in a bad way. I mean, this is something that you guys have heard me, all you fellas have heard me say for weeks now. When it was coming to Getsy or anybody else, I was like, and I still stand by this. I don't think Getsy was, I wouldn't say not the problem, but I don't think he was, public enemy number one. He may have been to fans that don't know the game as well, but I mean, to me, this is something I've said about Getsy, but I feel this way about Eberflus, feel this way about Justin Fields, feel this way about a lot of the people on the Bears, which is that what are you, 16th best, 18th best, 12th best? That's fine, but the reality is we shouldn't be striving for that. You want championships, and I get it. It's all about being pragmatic. Let's win the division first. Let's get to the dance, and we'll see. I hear all that nice shit from polls, but the reality is you're thinking small with a massive market and a team that's hungry for success and hasn't had it for 40 years. And I mean, whether it's, we can talk about Getsy leaving. That was an absolute scapegoat. That was the opportunity for your head coach to have somebody to blame for why he still has a job with a 29% winning percentage as a head coach over 2 seasons. I get it. His defense looked fantastic as it came on late in the year. That's all fine and dandy. Defense is a noisy stat. It fluctuates from year to year. Very seldom do you have defenses that are sticky from year to year where they're good. So that's this kind of goes to the whole point of the Chicago Bears. Every time that there's an opportunity to try to improve or make your life easier, they just find themselves down the same bullshit road that they always do. So, I mean, this is what I'm saying is at some point you have to look at it and go, it's ownership. And you could say maybe it's, this was on polls, this is Flus's guy, or this is on Kevin Warren. I get all that. I'm just saying at the end of the day, George McCaskey's still the one handing out the checks. So what he kind of feels, what he kind of wants, what he says, and I'm positing something, but I mean, if George McCaskey says, I don't have the funds to pay, you firing Flus and hiring Jim Harbaugh or the next guy.
But they probably do.
I know they probably do.
I'm with you, though. I'm not saying you're wrong. It's just that my initial reaction is Eberflus is still here. He didn't get a 3-year contract. He got a 4-year contract. It's good on him. That was smart of him, so they don't fire him after 2 years, like they should do. But if he has a 4-year contract, then I could see McCaskey or whatever say maybe that's the reason Cliff Stein was fired. Is they gave he negotiated a 4-year contract. Anyways, but go ahead, Jordan.
Another big thing was when they talked to Kevin Warren, and he almost equated it to the rise of the Minnesota Vikings when he was there, where they won 5 games, then 8 games, then went 12-4 and won the division, etc.
Mm-hmm.
That was Mike Zimmer's Vikings. Does anyone look at that as a model for what they want here? Because I don't. It doesn't look appetizing for me. And maybe I'm crazy, but it comes down to me an offensive mind needs to be a head coach. Because if you bring in an OC and he does well with JF1 or Caleb Williams, he's going to be a head coach somewhere because of the work he's done with either a young rookie quarterback, insert your favorite, or what he's done to change Justin Fields around. Like, he's not going to be here for more than a year or two. And then you're right back in square one. And
I mean, it's just the biggest. And Chris, just let me go one more thing, and that's all you. My biggest thing about the gross incompetence, and that's the word I keep coming back to, is it's Bears as usual, it's business as usual, it's gross incompetence. Is you being Kevin Warren and Ryan Poles somehow decided within 2 days of the season ending, and obviously I don't think it just took 2 days. This is weeks premeditated. Decided that your best option forward was to go ahead with the guy that can't close the meaningful games. As good as the defense plays, who did he actually beat? I guess you could say the Lions is probably the best one. And you decided the guy with the 29% win percentage was your best route forward. You decided that you didn't need to talk to not just Jim Harbaugh, to Ben Johnson, to Bobby Slowick, to Mike Vrabel now that he's on the market, to Raheem Morris, goddamn, you name any of them, Brian Flores, any of these people. You thought, look, we really like our defense. We like what we got going here. You didn't decide to talk to maybe the best defensive mind in the game, whether it's Mike McDonald or Brian Flores. If you're so antsy about keeping that defense intact, again, why are we shooting for 12th best or 16th best or whatever Flus is? Then go grab a defensive head coach and I get it, he's going to reset the scheme and everything. It's just, this is consistently the small market window that this team views things through. And Chris, that was me. I'll get off my stool here. I'll pass it to you.
Cool. Good morning, KB.
You got a lot of background noise, brother.
Oh, hold on. That better?
Yeah.
All right, cool.
Go ahead, Chris. I saw you raising your hand.
There's a couple of things that really annoy me. What come out of the presses this week is it's the idea that Pauls and Eberflus are sort of Pauls are congratulating Eberflus for getting a team through a hard time, which was because of the decisions he made as a head coach.
Yeah.
Obviously, you have the players aspect into that equation as well. But why are you praising somebody who started off on a 4-game losing streak? Just because we did go for that nice run at the end of the season, he still doesn't deserve that sort of praise from him because you created that drama in the first place. If you'd been better prepared before we went into that Green Bay game on week 1, then we could have got an extra couple of wins, and who knew where we could have ended up in the playoffs, maybe. But that just really irritated me, the sort of celebrating, like you said, Jordan, mediocrity. That's a good thing that your decisions put us in this pit. But it's great that you managed to get out of this pit, even though we shouldn't have been in that pit in the first place. You know what I mean? So I find that a very disappointing Chicago Bear trait. It's sort of I think the owners probably look at things in Eberflus can say, well, I doubled the win total. The defense is playing better. So, if it were like a normal business, you'd go, well, yeah, he's nearly double. He's over doubled, what he produced last year. But it's just we seem to be an organisation that's afraid to sort of maybe take that sort of bit of a blind jump. Especially coming to if it were Harbaugh or something like that, it just feels like they thought we could, we've seen growth, we can justify some growth, but there's a lot of things what they can't justify what happened through the season. Like you said, them collapses at the end of them games, what cost us maybe a playoff position. So it's just like the whole sort of, it probably does start from the top because as an NFL owner, you don't really have anything to lose because it's not like English soccer where if a club gets relegated, they lose so much money. Like a Premiership club going down a division, they lose so much money. So you can actually Leeds United, the club from my city, they nearly went bankrupt because they just kept yo-yoing and betting too much money into players what never stemmed out. So they never got to the Champions League semi-final, and it completely bankrupted the club. So at least NFL owners have not got to worry about that bit. And it's just sometimes I just think you just got to just go for it. And if it were down to sort of personality traits, I just find that a little bit unprofessional. You know what I mean? If the McCaskies have a bit of a problem with, say, Jim Armberg personally, if he's producing wins, then who cares? You got to be a little bit bigger than that. So, I just found it sort of quite uninspiring what I heard in the press conference, really. And I knew Eberflus would come back, and I'm glad Getsy went because, as we discussed through the season, his play calling was not consistent, and especially after he got over his scripted plays, he seemed to take a big sort of step back in his play calling. So, it's just been weeks on it, really, as a Bears fan.
yeah, that's true. Some of the quotes from polls that rubbed me the wrong way were that one where they're giving him credence or crowning him rather for pulling the ship through the storm, but he created the storm. So, way to go, Captain. But another one was he gave him credence or said that he did well putting together a staff. This is a staff who you just fired 75% of. This is a staff who you had to fire a defensive coordinator. He resigned, a defensive coordinator and a running backs coach for, we still don't know the reasons.
Personal conduct. Right. Some kind of personal conduct violation.
About him needing to know what an incognito tab was. So I don't know if he was looking at things he shouldn't have been looking at on his work computer or what it was, but
sending dick pics to female staff members,
So you talk about this guy putting a staff together, yet his staff is what's put you in this position already. I just don't get it. So KB, for joining us late, we haven't really touched on the Packers game. We've just really kind of touched on the season as a whole and talked about the press conferences from this week. So tell us your thoughts, KB.
My thoughts on the pressers, man. Standard everyday presser to me. Wasn't much said. other than typical bullshit and rhetoric that you're gonna throw out just to throw out. People think that they tip their caps in one way. To me, I feel like they held everything close to the chest. My man said before, he's in business to trade, and hell, he has to consider every option going forward with a quarterback. So, to me, I mean, the presser is just in a snapshot. That didn't say much for me. To be honest, I don't care one way or another about things that Eberflus said about the staff. Your staff was let go, it's like y'all said. But also on that same tip, I'm not really upset that he's back. We already knew that it was a possibility. It was things that was talked about. To me, you're a head coach. You coach the team. You take a step back in one way or another. So if he wants to go forward calling plays, hey, man, promote somebody on the inside and have somebody fill that position. If you're going to step back from play calling, you're going to be more of the overseer, so to speak, then promote somebody you know that can call the defense. Like I said, because I you know what I'm saying, I've seen y'all was kind of speaking on that. Like I said, I'm not upset about them keeping Flus. You know what I'm saying? I played the contrarian on this side. Flus did what he needed to do. The defense started to look better. Was it against worse teams? Yeah, but they on the schedule. You can't pick. I mean, you really can't choose your schedule. Your schedule is your schedule. So you play who's on the damn schedule. And they played pretty goddamn good defense up until the end of the schedule. There needs to be another sounding board in that room. I know that. Somebody needs to speak to him about when to be aggressive and when not to be. I'm in more towards when to be aggressive. We kind of seen what aggressive can do for you last night. If we went after Jordan Love like Kansas City, well, not Kansas City, but the Dolphins went after fucking Patrick Mahomes and we lost, I wouldn't have been mad. Yeah. To me, it feels like you're trying at that point. To me, it didn't feel like they tried the Green Bay game. I feel like they went out there and they had a very cookie cutter plan and said, we're going to stay in vanilla coverages and we're going to run vanilla defense.
Yeah, and those Packers wide receivers just found the hole in the zone and sat down in it. And Jordan Love was just, I mean, he was accurate all night.
It's easy to be accurate when you're throwing the dudes who are wide open.
Yeah,
you got guys that even 5 yards within receivers catching balls, bro. Yeah, with goddamn near 10 yards of fucking running room, damn every time they catch a pass.
Even Brisker spoke on that, saying, you know, when we watched the Packers have trouble, is like against the Giants and the Panthers did this a little bit, where they would bump them up on the line and make those throwing lanes smaller, and of course bring pressure on top of that.
Yep.
But that's a schematic issue though, KB, and that goes back to your coach. That's his scheme. Yeah. His scheme is to lay back and try and attack it at the point of catch.
This is why I push back with that. Because in earlier weeks before that, we seen them go after people. We seen blitzes. We seen pressure get brought. Why wasn't pressure brought that day? Why? Let me ask this. Why did we see crossers in week 17, but then we stopped seeing crossers against Green Bay?
I don't know.
You telling me the game plan changed that much?
Coaching matters.
Coaching matters.
Coaching matters, but then it also brings you to the point of did something come down the pipe and they said, hey man, you know, we're not really fucking caring about this game? Because you hear people say it all the time. We shouldn't go out there and play this game because we need draft position. Yeah, we could have went out and put Green Bay out, but to be honest, what purpose does that serve for Chicago? If their eyes are thinking, well, we need a higher draft pick.
Well, I just don't think NFL players are wired like that. I mean, your cousin
players, defensive coordinators, and head coaches, and offensive coordinators. If they're not coaching for their job, Eberflus knew before that press conference that he was coming back. We all know that. You can hear it in the way he spoke. He knew he was coming back. There's right now the part of me that wants to say, hey man, I really believe that Poles might have said something to him and he was just like, all right, fuck it. We'll go out there and we'll lay egg. We need the ninth pick. that has shit to do with your players if you say, hey, we just gonna sit back and cover 3 all damn day.
Eberflus has evidence that Poles sent out some dick pics too. That's why it's sticking around.
I don't know, man. I just think, and they had what was the guy's name? There's a guy that goes. I was listening to the score all week in case you guys couldn't notice. There's a guy. He was in the front office with Pace. He drafted Trubisky. He drafted Fields, and he talked about how, because we all say just fire the coach, move on, just fire the coach and move on. But he was talking about it on a personal level. You know, he's coming in every day. It's a partnership. They came in at the same time, and they're talking about they become friends. I mean, it's nothing more than that. And your president is supposed to go be the one to pull away some of the feelings between that coach and that GM. And I don't know if Warren feels the exact same way about Eberflus or what his feelings are on him. KB, I know you're trying to be contrarian here. I feel like they made a mistake. And you see top head coaches around the league. Mike Vrabel got fired. Belichick stepped away. Pete Carroll stepped away. These are Hall of Fame. Well, I don't know if Vrabel is yet, but Belichick and Pete Carroll, those are Hall of Fame level head coaches that were pushed out of their job because their organizations know it's time to move on and move forward for the future. And our organization that we know and love just stays status quo, and it's not fucking good enough, to be frank. It's just not fucking good enough. From head coach to OC to DC, whomever the fuck that was, which was also our head coach, to quarterback. I love Justin. You guys know this. I've got all of his jerseys. I got a signed football. I love Justin. My son has his jersey. It wasn't good enough. The Green Bay Packers, I have a fan of the Green Bay Packers that co-hosts with me on Wednesday. He's wanted their defensive coordinator fired for the last half of the year. This is a team that had the Carolina Panthers drop 30 on them. And we couldn't put up more than 9. We couldn't score a touchdown. Like, fellas, it's not fucking good enough. From top to bottom.
Yeah.
Anyway, the news that came out, Getsy is gone. The offensive coordinator is gone. The wide receivers coach is gone. The running backs coach is gone. That's 2 running backs coaches we fired this year. The offensive lineman coach is staying. That even Olin Cruz had a question about that. It was like,
hold on a second. I got something for you on that.
Go ahead.
This is the Bears this season. Pass protection, 29th in pressure percentage, 26th in adjusted sack percentage, 31st in hurry percentage. So, I mean, the Bears were in bottom 5 in 3 critical categories for pass protection. I mean, you want to talk about CJ Stroud and the success he's had. They have a much better offensive line than the Bears. I'll tell you that. I don't have the numbers.
With lesser talent. Hold on. With lesser talent. Let's be real.
Yeah, with lesser talent. I mean, one major thing we have to do this offseason is upgrade the offensive line. No matter who plays quarterback here, we have to upgrade the offensive line.
Yeah, that was probably my biggest takeaway last week when we watched them play the Packers was if it's 3rd down, the Packers defensive line looked like the 85 Bears. I don't care who you had at quarterback. They weren't doing anything last week. And I'm not saying that happened consistently this year. I feel like, I don't know. I mean, this is my first time seeing those numbers, but I felt like our offensive line was okay for a lot of the year.
I did.
Yeah. Chris Morgan is a fine coach, and the offensive line did fine. I put this out on Twitter when I saw they were keeping him, and I was even more shocked when I think the coaches got asked. They were like, hey, what do you think is this going to do for an offensive coordinator? They're like, well, they're just going to have to accept the coaches we're keeping. I'm like, all right, man, this is what I'm talking about. You want to make it harder and harder. Hey, offensive coordinators, you can come, but only if you keep some of our coaches. All right, well, you're going to shrink down and just funnel down those options that are – it's just amazing to me.
Olin Kreutz even talked about it. If you're an offensive coordinator looking for a job or a quarterback's coach who's looking for an upgrade to be an offensive coordinator, If you come in for an interview and they say, and Nolan Cruz said, your most important assistant on your offense. This is 5 to 7 of the starting 11 is your offensive line. Your most important assistant on your offense, and you're just stuck with whomever they have. Like, you don't get to choose. You don't get to build your staff. And this is your credibility that's going to be on that. It's mind-boggling. And I thought, go ahead,
in that same breath, something was said that makes a lot of sense. It's not the offensive coordinator staff. It's it's Matt Eberflus's staff. He picks from A to Z. He picks who the fuck he wants. That's what the honest to God truth is. So if he fires somebody, that's your head coach doing what the head coach is supposed to do. It's his job to fire somebody.
And that guy, and I'm not disagreeing with you, KB, other than to say that guy that you're talking about as a head coach should be able to set his cabinet from A to Z.
Everything's Justin Fields' fault, though.
Well, I'm just saying, you think
there's got a guy in the chat room here. All this pressure's on Justin Fields' fault. Yeah, some of it, he holds the ball. There was one game where he was getting pressured on 44% of his dropbacks. That's not all on him. He didn't have 3 seconds to throw the ball. I forget which game it was. I had it for Bears State of Affairs. I think it was the Browns. Yeah.
To be fair, the Green Bay game was ugly for Justin. It wasn't. The offensive line gave up. They were porous. I get it.
The scheme is terrible. There's always 3 wide receivers in a 5-yard zone area.
I'm just trying to say
right near each other. No crossers. No slants.
I'm just trying to say
zone busters. You don't
zone busters. No drag routes. It's brutal. It's an average offense. It's a below average offensive line. They're bottom 5.
All right, you go ahead.
Sorry, I can't.
No, it's okay. I'm just trying to say
everything is Justin Fields' fault with some of these Bears fans. It isn't. Go with the context. The first year of Justin Fields' career, we had a tank roster, a roster designed to tank so we could get the first overall pick, which we did. We got the first overall pick, and maybe that's part of the reason why Eberflus is still here. To be honest, I never heard of Matt Eberflus before we hired him. I gotta be honest; it wouldn't have been my first choice. If you want to talk about the first year all on Justin Fields, I'm going to tell you, go after yourself. The second year, he didn't progress as much as we wanted him to progress. But again, we had one guy that was making plays on offense. That was DJ Moore. Nobody else really made plays. Cole Kmet, maybe. But that's not enough in today's NFL. It's not enough.
Yeah.
All right, I'm done ranting.
And sorry, Jordan, I know you have another point, but Mahomes, we watched last night, held on to the ball for 6 seconds, still finds a receiver and gets it to him. We also saw Mahomes. I saw a defender, and they talked about it on the thing. Jason Garrett did. These defenders have got to hit him. These defenders are terrified to hit him because they know it's a flag. I watched that quarterback get pushed down and get a 15-yard penalty. My quarterback gets his head rocked and nothing. He had 0 calls the entire year. They talk about loving the safety of the game and pushing for player safety. My quarterback, there's no way he was not concussed against Green Bay when his head bounced off.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's 0% chance he was not concussed. And they just, no flag, no nothing. Eberflus talked to the ref. If that's me, you're sending me to the fucking locker room. There's 0% chance. I'm losing my shit like a baseball manager. It's not okay.
Anybody want to take on the question? I'm just gonna say coaching matters. Here's another one. Mahomes has great pocket presence. He's got Andy Reid.
Hold on.
We have Matt Eberflus.
Before we go any further, Jordan, what was you saying, bro, about with the coaching thing real quick?
I was just trying to – I'll be very quick, fellas. I was just trying to say that I hear you, KB. I'm not here to argue it. But when you're talking about keeping a coach like Chris Morgan, and I get it, any head coach should have a cabinet choice A to Z. But what has the head coach of the Chicago Bears and Matt Eberflus done to warrant that level of respect to go, look, I get to choose who I want, and you're going to – OCs, you're going to have to come here with the guys I choose. Like, this is the whole problem. Is that guy hasn't carried his water since he arrived. And there's a lot of nuance here, as Tooch is talking about. They came in trying to tank. But and we're going to tie this all into and that goes into the 29% win percentage. I'm very aware of that. So even then, you could say that low winner percentage because of that tank.
We've been here for all the losses, folks.
But that's the thing too, is like, and there's a lot of nuance wrapped up in this conversation. But I mean, this is something that, look, I'll pull the receipts. I've been saying it for a while, and you can't really get around this. But the moment that you decided to fire Ryan Pace and Matt Nagy, you put the incumbents on yourself to find a GM and find everybody under the GM that would come in, because this is the whole point. Any GM that comes into any team says, my job is to do what's best for the organization moving forward. What was best for the organization moving forward was doing everything in your human nature possible to make sure that the player that they invested 3 picks into, in Justin Fields, first rounder, another first rounder, and a fourth rounder from the Giants, it was incumbent that you did everything possible to make sure that that kid did well, whether you liked him or not, whether you couldn't play a 2-quick game. None of that matters, because this is the point. Those picks were already invested. So Ryan, look, I mean, nobody wants to talk about Ryan Poles. Ryan Poles drafted well, all these good things, and yes, the team had all this dead cap, and he needed to reset. I understand that, but when you decided to roll out a garbage offensive line and Pettis and everybody else, EQ and everybody else out there for Justin Fields' second year, when he developed a lot of bad habits, lost confidence, all those things, all of that plays into the role to why, and I respect KB for being contrarian, but all of that plays into the role why none of this makes sense. Why you would give the gravitas to a guy like Flus to be able to keep certain stats? Yeah, why would give Lions faith? I mean,
if they wanted Justin Fields, look, let's go back to when Nagy and what's the other guy's name? Pace. When those two guys were failed, you had to make a decision then whether or not you're going to invest in Justin Fields. Now, granted, they didn't know what they had, because it wasn't until year 2 when he started running like for 75-yard touchdowns. They didn't know what they had, but you still, if he was going to be your guy, you have to self-scout and know what you have, at least to some extent, of whether or not you're going to invest in the player. And put someone, like Jordan says, you have to put someone who's going to guide a quarterback. We've never had anybody that's developed quarterbacks. Never. You pick Matt Eberflus, a defensive guy, and he brings along a guy that did it for never was an offensive coordinator. You know, you bring in a first-time head coach, a first-time GM. This is all the same thing. It takes a year or 2 for these guys to learn on the job, and that's the shame of it. I've said for years, we got to stop hiring first-time guys who are learning on the job. You know, it's amateur hour. Exactly. It's still amateur hour, because you see it with the game plan in Green Bay. I couldn't find a game plan, Jordan. AC, I couldn't find a game plan. The game plan was complete garbage in that game, both sides of the ball.
I just feel like, to that point, we're heading down the exact same road that we headed down with Justin and with Mitch.
100%.
Where you draft a quarterback high, then Flus can't make it work. Then he's fired at the end of the year, and you're hiring a head coach that has to inherit a quarterback.
Yep.
KB, I know you've been trying to talk. Go ahead, brother.
I just want to go with this, because I see people saying stuff like Fields drifts into pressure and all this other bullshit. If y'all really paid attention to the game last night, the first thing you would have noticed is Mahomes drifts back in the pocket 10 yards back. It don't matter whether pressure is coming or not. He drifts back damn near every fucking pass to buy himself time to find someone open, aka holding on to the ball early. More. Now, let me preface this. I'm gonna use this analogy. I used this with somebody yesterday, and the dude couldn't make a comment back because he was so fucking stunned. Let's say you hire a kid out of college, right? Kid comes in, he knows the job from college, but he does not know the professional workforce. You say, you know what? Today I need this built in CAD. I need you to build a new lathe machine. I need you to go out there and I need you to put it together. But then all I give you is 2 screwdrivers and a hammer. You got a week to finish that. Week goes by, you got this thing push pies, you know what I'm saying, some bullshit put together. But you know what? You can kind of see the working parts, right? Machine works, doesn't work. You don't know what it is. Next week, you come in, you find out that the guy who told you that gets fired, right? New guy comes in, hey, I need you to do everything you did last week, but I'm just going to give you one tool. Go in there and fix this for me. I need this to be done by the end of the week. End of the week rolls up, it looks worse than last week. You know, you don't have anything to work with. You don't know how to put this thing together. Now, you come into your third season, things are a little bit better. I say your third season, your third week, you got maybe one more tool. Maybe you tell yourself, hey, I can fucking do this. But then as the year goes on or the week goes on, they start taking more things from you because, hey, we tried this. We went out and got this for you last week. We brought this in. We thought it was going to work. Didn't work. We're going to get rid of it real quick. Now, let's put Justin Fields into this position. Justin Fields came into a situation that was broken. They said, hey, go in there and do this job with this. We don't give a fuck what you do with it, but we need you to do something with it. Looks bad his first year. He's supposed to be learning. He's supposed to be being taught how to be a quarterback in the professional level. Head coach gets fired. Entire team gets thrown out.
Yep.
Bring in another guy. Another guy is preaching, hey, we're going to make this shit work. But you know what?
With a roster designed to tank. Don't forget.
Away. And we want you to go out there and we want you to survive the season. Hey, it needs to be built by the end of the week, brother. End of the week comes up, end of the season comes up. It doesn't look good. You might have a couple days of that week where things look right, but you don't have anything around you to make this shit look good. So then the next time rolls through. Okay, now we got this season. We add DJ Moore, you go get you a right tackle. Left tackle still spotty, your center's trash. You got one person who acts like they know how to catch the ball outside of DJ Moore. You don't have a stud at running back. Your defense don't have the defensive pressure that it needs. But yet we want to sit here and blame one person. Blame the fucking organization. Anytime y'all have a conversation, it's Justin Fields or nothing. To be honest, I don't give a fuck if Justin Fields is on the team anymore next year. I don't. If the best choice is to go with a quarterback, just understand what you're putting that quarterback behind is what Justin Fields worked with last year. I guarantee you CJ Stroud didn't come in here last year and work with what we got.
Yeah.
You don't have DJ Moore if you have CJ Stroud. You don't have Darnell Wright if you have CJ Stroud.
CJ Stroud sucks here with this offensive line, this roster, and this coaching staff.
It'd be this offensive line minus Darnell Wright as well.
It's exactly this same amount of bullshit. This is why I stood on the platform that I stood on and said, hey, maybe you build around your quarterback so you can have a situation like Brock Purdy, where you can go draft the kid out of fucking Tulane, and maybe if Justin Fields is trash next year, you can throw that kid in. If it's Fields, then he's going to show it if he has the talent around him.
You'll never convince these guys like CJ Stroud's still good here because he's
I mean, the bottom line is, and some of the I'm not going to shit on some of these fans' opinions because
they don't take in any context.
I agree, but
like KB just laid out all the context.
We're not blaming Fields for everything. Yes, y'all do. Every time there's a conversation about Stroud, fucking Patrick Mahomes.
I know.
Any quarterback gets thrown out. Oh, well, Fields couldn't do that. Bro, shut the fuck up. You don't know football. It's annoying. Bro, I'm annoyed.
If you plug in Patrick Mahomes here, we win maybe one more game this season with our roster and with our offensive line and with our coaches. Instead of winning 7, we win 8, maybe 9 games. He ain't winning double digits here.
As much as we've talked about CJ Stroud, he was able to, with a first-time head coach, that there wasn't a bunch of pieces in Houston.
Yeah.
They drafted guys. CJ Stroud has raised the level around him, and that's what we need.
Yep.
And it still goes back to coaching.
We're not saying CJ Stroud is a bad quarterback. We're not saying that at all. He's a good quarterback.
You know how much I love Bobby Slowick. It goes back to coaching.
Bobby Slowick is awesome, man. Slowick put up 45 points on the best defense in the NFL yesterday. The game plan was meticulous.
And triple stuck, K. If the reason why I say folks don't know football, and the reason why I'm saying you don't know football, is because you're not bringing context into the game.
I know. It's like,
when you bring context into the game, then you can tell me somebody sucks for 3 years when they have nothing to work with.
If Fields on the 49ers,
I need something done, and it's not done. Guess what? I'm firing your ass because you're trash.
If Fields had Fields on the 49ers and we had Brock Purdy, you guys would be saying, we got to have a quarterback like Justin Fields, because Kyle Shanahan and his staff know how to develop guys. Their offensive scheme and their game planning and their play design is infinite light years ahead of the Bears. That's just a fact. And the offensive line of the 49ers are one of the best in the NFL. All right, the context that KB was talking about. Okay, imagine You're a rookie quarterback coming in the league. You're drafted by a head coach that's so bad he's fired your rookie year. Then you brought into a new regime with a first-time play-calling incompetent offensive coordinator in Luke Getsy. Then, if the team drafts a new quarterback in the same situation, they'll call him a bust, the fan base, whoever, will call him a bust, the media. If the team wins, it's good quarterback play, and if they lose, it's horrible quarterback play. That's all that your fans are saying that says Fields suck. It's all the quarterback's fault without taking into any context. Now, look, we're at the point, I forgot who had the quote in here. The 49ers offensive line isn't that good. Go F yourself. They're number 1 in the NFC.
I like what Scott says here, and he said he breaks it down perfectly.
He's part of the problem.
Fields wasn't the whole problem, but he was part of the problem.
100%. 100%. But
we need to move on, fellas.
The main question though is, what are we doing at quarterback this offseason? Because you could still take a quarterback. You could still keep Justin Fields. You could take a quarterback. You could get rid of Justin Fields. But again, the new guy that's coming in here is stepping into the same situation that Justin Fields stepped into 3 years ago. That's what we're saying.
Well,
all right, I'm sorry.
Word on the street is Caleb Williams doesn't want to step into that situation. So we'll figure all that out.
Whether that was a rumor or clickbait or whatever, we don't know.
Right. The thing we do know, because right now we don't know who the quarterback's going to be. We don't know where we're going to end up in the draft. We could trade the pick. We could do a lot of things. Our off season is endless, is limitless. Now we will come back after the combine because I want to get a good measurement of all these quarterbacks, and then we will talk about prospects. And we will talk about what the Bears look like going forward. We'll see if we still have that number 1 pick. Remember, he traded it last year, March, I think, something like that. So we'll be able to talk about all those things moving forward. I'd like to wait until the combine comes in so we can get good because I'm worried about Caleb's size. He still hasn't even said he's coming to the draft, but I mean, he's gonna. I don't see why he wouldn't, unless
because the Bears are picking number 1.
Well, I mean. He could stay at USC where they don't play defense. It's his choice. But Laz said here, same old debate. Who do you want for offensive coordinator? The one thing we know is the offensive coordinator is no longer with us. He didn't die. We just fired him. We fired Luke Getsy. We fired his wide receivers coach, his running backs coach, kept his offensive line coach. But the offensive coordinators they have brought in for interviews or put in for permission to interviews is Shane Waldron out of Seattle, Clint Kubiak from the San Francisco 49ers. Y'all know that makes me smile. They called my guy Liam Cohen down here at Kentucky to see if he had an idea to jump back in the league. Is that all that we know of, or are there any names that I'm missing?
I think those are the 3 I've heard of. I mean, Kubiak's Gary Kubiak. So
Greg Olsen was rumored as the 4th person.
And not the tight end, former Bears tight end. The former Bears offensive coordinator, former Bears quarterbacks. We had Greg Olsen here under, I forget, was it Ron Turner maybe, or somebody around that time? We've had Greg Olsen here before. I don't know whether it was Lovey's staff or John Fox's staff. Somebody we had Greg Olsen here before. I'd have to go back and look though.
So those are the names we know of, but if they're not currently employed, you don't have to ask for permission to interview them. So you have names like Eric Bieniemy, who maybe they've talked to, maybe they haven't. We have no idea. You have names. Who else?
We can't have Kubiak, you guys.
I ain't paying attention because at the end of the day, it don't matter who the fuck you hire. It doesn't matter if he's going to work well with them or not.
No,
bro.
It doesn't matter who. It doesn't matter who the quarterback is. The offensive coordinator, quarterback coach is the most important thing right now.
Yeah. Well, Laz says he assumes they'll talk to Frank Reich. We know Eberflus has a relationship with Frank Reich. They were together in Indianapolis. He's the guy who's been a head coach before. He'd be able to run the offense, and Eberflus wouldn't have to do anything with it. He would just let him do his thing. So So that's a possibility that they.
And then if they fire Eberflus, he can step in as head coach.
I mean, we'll see. Chris, I haven't heard your voice in a while. Do you have a name that you would like to either talk about, or a name that really sticks out to you from that list, or from a list in your head? I don't know.
You don't want to know what goes on inside of my head. You don't want to go to that dark place. But I think Kubiak is what really sort of interests me most. I just think that San Francisco offensive scheme could translate quite well over to Chicago with the players we got, because it's quite a run-heavy scheme, which, we're also run-heavy, team at the moment in time. So I'd really like to see him doing. I think as well he's had previous play calling experience. I just feel like I'd love to have somebody who's been there and done it before a bit, because I think Getsy just lost his way and he just didn't have the experience really to sort of scout himself about, his sort of way he was directing games on the offensive side. So he's the one that really sort of interests me, because 49ers are probably one of if not probably the best team in the NFL. And like when they get on a roll offense, how they can run that ball. I mean, being a former running back as well, it's just great to see still that the running game is just important to passing game sometimes in the NFL. So he's sort of like my sort of favourite one, really. I think the guy in Seattle's done it as well. I just want somebody who's had a bit of an experience, doing the play calling before. It's sort of like when Tucci saying about, we got like a rookie GM, coach, offense, defense coordinator. And I can remember at the time we were doing shows, and I was thinking, that's just really bizarre to have all these people who've not done the job before, all starting all at the same time, and nobody's got any real experience. So I really like to have somebody who's been there and done it a bit. But yeah, Kubiak's definitely my front runner, really.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that name, if it rings a bell, his father, Gary, was a great play caller in the NFL, had success pretty much everywhere he went. A branch of the Mike Shanahan tree that is now the Kyle Shanahan tree that also branches out to McVay's tree. They all kind of intertwine. If it's up to me, I want a piece of that offense one way or another. You guys know how much I love that. I mean, I am pulling for the 49ers in this playoffs simply because of how much I love Kyle Shanahan and everything he's done out there. One thing I would worry about with Kubiak is A, Kyle Shanahan's calling those plays, and B, look at all the all-pros he has along that offense. You got Deebo Samuel, you got George Kittle, you've got
the best running back in the NFL.
McCaffrey, you got Trent Williams, who's at left tackle, who's a top 3 left tackle in the league, and that might be low,
I just think KC, but their style is quite transferable.
Yeah,
to their strength at the moment in time in the squad, and unless they really move on in the offensive philosophy, I can just see it translating well over from the 49ers to us. Just from catching a few of their games throughout the season.
Yeah, that's true. I have. I know I saw someone in the chat say that they haven't talked to Frank Reich. I hadn't heard that report.
Or Greg Roman.
I mean, I think if they bring in Greg Roman, you can say they're keeping Justin Fields because he fits his offense 100%. More than anyone in the draft. I've lost my train of thought.
Jordan, tell them who the Texans' left tackle is.
Laramie Tunsil.
One of the best in the NFL.
I got to be honest. I think, and there's no disrespect to Trent Williams. Trent Williams is a Hall of Famer, will be. He's still very good. Trent Williams has been gotten in his pass protection more this year because he's on the downswing, because he's getting a little older. He is I know, but it's the name quality. Everybody thinks he's the best left tackle. The best left tackle in the league is Laramie Tunsil.
100%.
And I just
not even close.
Give me 10 seconds just because I want to make sure it doesn't sound like I'm talking out of both sides of my mouth. I had said earlier the Texans have a less talented offensive line. I just said they have the best left tackle. That matters, but I do just want to quickly clarify. I still do believe that the Bears have a better in holistic talent offensive line than what the Texans did, especially considering how many players were hurt from that Texans line that C.J. Stroud was playing with this year. I mean, Drew Struggs was out. Who's the South Alabama or North Alabama? The tackle they took, Titus Howard, who plays guard now, has been out. So they have some good players, but just specifically right now, yes, they have the best left tackle in the game, which is certainly important. But when you talk about Darnell Wright, Tevin Jenkins, Braxton Jones, who's performed well enough for a 5th-round pick, I think that the Bears have a better talented line overall.
Yeah.
I don't. Either that or it's scheme, or just part of it's Justin Fields' fault. We know that. We're not stupid. But, man, like the whole thing, the Bears have not decided on what they're going to do with the quarterback position. I still don't think so. Everyone's saying, oh, we're leaning towards Fields. They could still draft a quarterback, but I'm telling you, we have to improve the offensive line, or nobody's going to succeed. We have to improve the offensive coordinator. And AC will tell you, we got to improve the fucking head coach. The head coach cost us how many wins this season? 3, maybe 4. You know, we gave away 3 fourth-quarter leads. It's never. I mean, that's a tied an NFL record for fourth-quarter collapses.
Double-digit fourth-quarter leads.
Unacceptable.
Yeah. You'll get no argument on that from me, but all I can deal with is what we know we have, and that's why we're talking OCs. The guy from Seattle, Shane Waldron, what he's done with Geno Smith to resurrect his career literally from the dirt. I mean, this guy was written off. He didn't write back, he said. So Shane Waldron put that together. I did see on Twitter a lot of Seattle fans can't stand Shane Waldron. I'm assuming it's because they see the pieces they have on offense and they expect to be the best offense in the league, and they weren't, so they weren't happy with that. But I think he's a very smart coach, and he calls the plays. So he has a history of being able to be a play caller and a leader of men. Like I said, we spoke of Frank Reich. We know all the things he can do, and he's done it with several different styles of quarterbacks. Yeah. The only one he failed with was Bryce Young, and that goes back to people that are arguing about C.J. Stroud versus Justin Fields. I didn't hear C.J. Stroud at all leading into the draft last year. It was Bryce Young. He's the Steph Curry of the NFL, blah, blah, blah. That hasn't worked out, and they're looking to rebuild everything. So thank God we're not Carolina Panthers fans. I mean, that's a train wreck starting from owners. You want to talk about an owner that you can't respect? That's him. Throwing drinks on fans, etc. I mean, it's ridiculous. I do want to speak on Liam Cohen because I feel like I'm in a place where I can more than a lot of Bears fans. Liam Cohen is a very smart play caller. We brought him in under Mark Stoops. He worked wonders with Will Levis. The things he was able to do from throwing to passing. Will Levis was a running quarterback that we brought in from Penn State and built into what should have been a number 1 or a first-round draft pick. But he left to go to the Rams to be under Sean McVay, which is the tree he's from. But when he was with the Rams, he didn't call plays. Sean McVay runs that show. He was gone for 1 year. He came back this year. He had a new quarterback in Devin Leary, who was a little more undersized than Levis, so he wasn't able to do the things that Levis can do with his feet, or he didn't have the cannon for an arm like Will Levis has. So, and he worked okay with it. He was really good at scheming things up. But I saw Devin Leary miss a lot of the easy throws that we see on Sundays missed, and we led the SEC in drop passes. Otherwise, I think Liam Cohen would have a lot more calls. However, I think it would be better for Liam to stay at Kentucky for a year or two, continue calling plays under a defensive-minded head coach, really run his system. I just think he needs more of a track record of doing it. You know what I'm saying? He basically has 2 years calling plays now, one with Levis and one with Devin Leary. So he's worked with different styles of quarterbacks. I love Liam. I like him a lot. I just feel like he needs more experience running the show as the offensive coordinator before he makes the jump back to the league. That's my opinion on Liam. I think he's good. He's smart. just think he needs a little more seasoning before he jumps to this level again and takes over the show. KB, is there an offensive coordinator that you have in mind that you think this is the way I would go, and maybe some reasons why?
I'm just going over the picks, man. I did my digging on Shane Waldron. I like his scheme. I like how he schemes his players open and gets them in space.
If he can bring DK Metcalf with him, I'm all for it.
Oh man. But then you got Clint Kubiak seems good. I can't with Greg Olson. I know they had another guy they interviewed. Like I said, it was 4. I'm really interested to see if they interview Daryl Bevel from Miami. You know, him being put out yesterday. I would imagine they extend a look to him.
Yeah, he's a passing game coordinator for Miami, correct?
Yeah. And I like the fact that he's helped develop quarterbacks over, you know what I'm saying, over his time as being a OC and a quarterback coach and everything he's been. Also, I'm kind of leaning more towards Daryl Bevel, even though we haven't interviewed him.
Right.
If we don't, I would love to see a mix of maybe Kubiak and Olsen. You know, both guys work extensively with quarterbacks. And then you got the son of the pretty much the modern day offense in the NFL.
Yeah.
So, you know, he can always go back to his father and, you know what I'm saying, pick his brain if things aren't working. So I have done my you know what I'm saying, I've done more work on Waldron because I was just interested. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You have to look at it. That man helped turn around Geno.
He won games with Drew Lock as his quarterback. Who do we think?
So yeah, that's one thing. Like I said, right now, number 1 on my list is Bevel. If you can find a way to steal Kubiak or Olsen away to be a quarterback coach and you can get Bevel in the door, I'd be extremely happy about that. If not, like I said, any mixture of Kubiak and Olsen being your OC and QB coach, and then Waldron probably be my 3rd. So
I like all those names. Bevel, it was a name that, like you said, we haven't seen officially that they've asked for him, and they couldn't until they were out of the playoffs. Excuse me. But yeah, that's a great name to bring up.
Wasn't Bevel here once as a quarterback coach? I think
the name sounds familiar. I don't
think
know
he was here. I'll look it up, but I think we had him here. We had Greg Olson here too.
I'm really not a big fan of Greg Olson. The last I can remember is him running the Raiders, and his offense was like 30th in the league, and just wasn't. I don't know. I know he has a lot of respect around the league, but that name doesn't really move the needle for me. Plus, he looks just like Flus. I mean, I don't want 2 of those guys on the side.
Yeah, we didn't have him, but he's bounced around a lot.
Packers,
Vikings, Seahawks, Lions, Jaguars, and now he's a Miami Dolphins passing game coordinator, quarterbacks coach.
Yeah, I think I remember him in Green Bay. It was probably where I remembered him from.
Jordan, somebody that can teach.
Yeah,
position. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly, 100%.
And I feel like Waldron is the name. Waldron or Frank Reich are the big names for a teacher that can take you to the next level. Again, the worst thing that Reich did was inheriting Bryce Young, and I mean, the rumor is that he wanted C.J. Stroud, and C.J. Stroud really fit that mold of him a little bit better. Also, if you bring Frank Reich in, I feel like Drake May fits his mold better than Caleb Williams does, because Caleb Williams is 5'11". He makes a lot of off-platform throws. He's somewhat athletic, but not – I mean, there's not a whole lot of quarterbacks that are Justin Fields athletic. But I just feel like Drake May, who a lot of – I'm not hearing a lot from Bears fans about Drake May, but – I don't want to poo-poo that guy. I mean, he's 6'5", big dude, makes all the throws you need. He's sneaky athletic. So if we end up with Drake May, don't just say North Carolina quarterback wearing number 10. I don't want him on my team, because it's deeper than that, fellas. Jordan, give me your offensive coordinator and talk, and then we can talk about some of these guys as a whole, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, if you guys want me to talk about any of the specific ones, I'm not Mr. Ballno or anything, but I think I watch a lot of football and I have a decent pulse on a lot of these guys. But I put out on Twitter earlier this week, and I still stand by this. I think that Eric Bieniemy is the right choice in my opinion, and it's not because I necessarily think that's who I would want if I was a Bears fan, but it's more about like what is realistic. Depends on obviously the relationship with Ryan Poles, but obviously there's a relationship going back to Kansas City. There's a relationship going back to this general offense that Justin Fields ran when Matt Nagy came in, and I understand everybody hates Matt Nagy and all that, but the reality is I don't think we've seen Justin Fields as successful or as confident as when he was striping the ball under Matt Nagy in year one. So you tend to think that Eric Bieniemy could come in and do that. Also, Eric Bieniemy is it's easy for me to say I'm not being coached by the guy, but I like hard asses. I like culture setters. I like people that don't take any shit. And that is what Eric Bieniemy is. He is.
Was he let go with Rivera?
No, but I mean, here's the reality. Like when they're all let go, it's kind of like Shane Waldron's situation. Like Pete Carroll, it's when you rinse the top, everybody else kind of scatters, and they're allowed to search for opportunities. So I imagine that Eric Bieniemy won't be retained, especially with that new ownership, with whoever they want to hire. So it's a situation where, again, I don't necessarily think this will happen because I've never seen the McCaskies or anybody in that Bears organization like a hard ass, like somebody that's going to tell it like it is. But if you're talking about getting the most out of Justin Fields, getting a offense that's proven, and I know everybody's going to say, well, Sam Howell looked like trash this year and everything. And I'm going like Sam Howell was a 5th-round rookie who did pretty well, all things considered, and they didn't have a great offensive line in Washington. Biggest concerns with the Bieniemy is he doesn't run the ball a ton, so you're going to have to deal with some of that. But as far as actually, I mean, the reality is he was incredibly effective when he ran the ball, though. As I'm kind of going over some of their statistics, they did rank 32nd in the league, so last in the league in rushes per game, but yards per rush 4.4, so 4.5 yards per rush, number 7 in the league overall. So when they do run the ball, they run effectively, and it's because they're spreading out defenses in the pass game. So I just think that Justin Fields is a guy that's shown to be a leader. He's willing to accept hard coaching. I think Eric Bieniemy would coach him hard, but love him in a way that I think you'd want from a coach. Isn't going to be this kind of soft Luke Getsy type. And then I think is going to make use of a guy like DJ Moore, all the receiving weapons that presumably you're going to bring in that draft. So to me, I think that, Bieniemy is the guy. I see like PZ saying Bieniemy will get your QB killed. Yeah, I mean, I guess it's the reality though too is, and this is, I'm not presuming Justin Fields is here. Because yeah, absolutely, Justin Fields is in your backfield. Yeah, he's going to take a lot of sacks just like Sam Howell did. But if you get a young quarterback and hopefully you can kind of train him to get the ball out, hopefully that would solve.
The Commanders did not have the best talent. Man, what's he talking about?
Right.
Yeah,
I think Bieniemy, if he was the guy that we brought in last year, I'm glad he went where he went. To be under a defensive-minded head coach, because I feel like that was a huge knock on Nagy, especially after failing here, is, okay, he's under Andy Reid. Andy Reid runs that show. You don't want an offensive coordinator from under them. So I was happy when I saw Bieniemy went under a defensive-minded head coach where he's running the show. And Sam Howell, for all the hate he's going to get in the chat, he had really good numbers, passing numbers. The numbers that they complain Justin doesn't get, Howell was getting those numbers, but he was also leading the league in the amount of times he was sacked. So you have to take that into consideration, along with what do they have on their offensive line compared to what do we have on our offensive line. Remember, their biggest offensive lineman was Brandon Scherf, and he left in free agency. I can't name a big name on the Washington offensive line. They were kind of duct taping that thing together and hoping that it worked out.
Charles Leno. Oh,
yeah, touche. Yeah, so Charles Leno is their left tackle, former Bear. Yeah, I mean, having the ability to run the show would be a good thing. I do think. Do you think that would point us in the direction of Caleb Williams if we brought in Bieniemy, Jordan?
Yeah, presumably. Yeah. I mean, that's what you would have to assume. And I mean, whether or not I don't know what we're going to happen with what we're going to see happen with Caleb Williams. I know it's very early to plant your flag, but he is not the quarterback I would take for the Bears. And I like him. I mean, I was in our private chat talking about
Yeah.
how much I think I like the guy, but it's not even so much about like his character or anything. I know he cries in his mom's arms, all that. He paints his fingernails, wears dresses, the whole deal. I just like my thing is I just don't know how that plays in Chicago. That's all. I mean, he was crying after losing, and I'm not against crying. Look, man, we get emotional after competition. So I'm not mad that he was upset about losing his chances at a Heisman, at a playoff chance, all those things. But it's just what happens when you lose to Green Bay at home, and the reporters, because Chicago media is vicious, is just chewing the guy out. So that's why I don't necessarily think that.
And they're not half as vicious as New York media.
No, and that's where I just want to be very clear. Eric Bieniemy is the guy that I think would make sense, but I'm very clear to distinguish. The Bears are not likely not going to hire Eric Bieniemy. I mean, I see all these people going, well, that's why they're trying to stick under the McVay tree, and they're going with all the guys that run the same system. They don't want to have to learn a new system. I understand all that. I'm not telling you I think Eric Bieniemy is the most likely. Just if it was a best choice, that would be who I try to insert. That's
who's running the system that's closest to what the Bears' crappy system they're running right now?
In theory,
it would
like
be Kubiak, right?
Yeah, in theory, it would be someone under the Shanahan-McVay tree because it's a long branch off of it, but Getsy was supposed to be from that same tree, under LaFleur, didn't call plays. I think my biggest thing is I want a guy who's called plays before and he's done it before. I don't want and this chatter, John Falsetta, threw out the name Cliff Kingsbury and Draft Williams. Yeah. I think Kingsbury, much like Liam Cohen, needs more seasoning, more time calling the plays. I'll
tell you,
I don't even know if he does call plays.
They'll light it up the first year, and everyone will be like, "Wow!" Then after a year, when everyone realizes, and figures it out, it won't be as good as the bloom will be off the rose.
Well, you got people over here like PZ saying Bieniemy's not a teacher, he's a disciplinarian. That's the thing that I think is a positive. Like, when is the last time you saw the Bears actually being held accountable on any side of the ball in any real meaningful way? And to that point, I think there's a situation where, to your AC, you explained it excellently. You watched Eric Bieniemy, and there was serious questions about who's really calling the plays in Kansas City. Why is he never hired? He went outside. And everybody's going to say, well, Dotson and so and McLaurin regressed. He went outside, had to call offensive plays. Ron Rivera wasn't putting a lot of input on that. It was strictly the Eric Bieniemy show. Yeah. And the whole thing is it wasn't some bottom-of-the-league offense. They had a Swiss cheese offensive line. Their quarterback was young. Somebody was talking about, Jordan loves Howell. The dude's a loser. I'm going, Howell put up more yards than Justin Fields can fucking dream up in the NFL. So, I mean, you could sit here and come at me about stuff like that, but the reality is we've seen what Eric Bieniemy can do as an offensive play caller with a defensive head coach that wants nothing to do with that side of the ball and says, can you just manage and make this shit work? That is something that you've seen where I don't think you've necessarily seen that as much with the other candidates.
Yeah, I do like this comment from John Falsetta. I like Waldron because he's been under different trees, McVay, Carroll, and Belichick. So he's learning from three of the greatest coaching minds that we have in the league today, and he's able to pull pieces from each of them and make it work. I think that's a great.
Waldron is cool. There's no problem with Waldron. Watching Waldron, I think my thing with him is, it works. When it works, it's beautiful. But I could just see Bears fans getting pissed off. He uses the funkiest personnel packages you'll ever see, which is like really cool to watch. But then you're going to get pissed off when he's got 3 different reverses and a tight end leak and
wide receiver screens.
Yeah, it's
as long as he doesn't have Tyler Scott trying to block the 250-pound defensive
Trent Williams. Trent, what's that kid's name? Trent Taylor.
Yeah.
He was trying to block Rashawn Gary.
Yeah.
That play was. I didn't even know what they were running when they lined up.
That's your offensive coordinator that we had.
Yeah.
Bonehead.
So, yeah.
I see somebody going like Jim Caldwell, and I'm like, Jim Caldwell is
68 years old.
He's a fossil. Like, it's not. I'm sure
but he's still better than Luke Getsy. And that's not saying much. It's a low bar.
Yeah, and with Jim Caldwell, they had brought him in for interviews for head coach, and he had a plan of what he was going to do with Justin Fields, and apparently they didn't like that plan. So I mean, maybe they bring him in, but I don't know. I mean, you want to talk about a teacher? He's a guy who would definitely be a teacher, I think. But I don't know, man. So we've talked about all the offensive coordinators. We've talked about the quarterbacks. We've talked about the season ending. I don't know what else we can really talk about.
I got some
Maybe.
things here.
Yeah, go ahead,
If we're going to look back at the 2023 season, and we're going to talk about people like Poles and Eberflus and the players and things like that, we're going to look at the successes and the failures of this season. Success, DJ Moore had a great year. Bringing him here was great. We got a career year. Had a career year. We got DJ. We got a number one wide receiver and didn't have to do a ton of work. We traded the number one pick. We got Carolina's number one pick this year and their number one last year, and we got DJ Moore, and he delivered. All right. We got Darnell Wright. I would say that was a success. Pretty good player. Tyreek Stevenson, good player. Gervon Dexter, good player. Cole Kmet took a step. Montez Sweat trade that totally changed the complex of our defense.
Yeah.
You could say that the defense took a big leap when he came here. Braxton Jones improved. I don't know if you can say he's a long-term starter. He had some injuries. Jalen Johnson had top numbers in the league this year. Top 5 cornerback.
Second team All-Pro.
Yeah, and he's second team. But we could talk about Jalen Johnson's contract situation. I mean, if he's too expensive, I saw there's a guy on the Chiefs that probably either less money that's pretty damn good. You saw last
I know
night.
Polls kind of put any of those to rest.
L'Jarius Sneed, man, I'll take
anywhere,
him.
so.
I'll take him or Jalen Johnson already. But all right, the Panthers choking this season and giving up the number one pick to us this year. That's a plus. We enter this offseason with a bunch of different options, but we still haven't solved the quarterback or offensive coordinator system. So the failures, Justin Fields didn't take that third-year leap. That's definitely a failure. We know it. We're not trying to defend him. We just want to give you the context because we think that a good coach could have gotten more out of him. All right, Matt Eberflus and Luke Getsy they proved themselves to be potentially be outcoached every week. 2-10 in the division, 3 blown fourth quarter leads of 10 or more points, 2 coaches inexplicably leaving for HR violations or personal conduct reasons. Darnell Mooney regressed. That could largely be injury related. Chase Claypool trade, that was definitely a negative. We wasted a second-round pick on that.
He went and cursed the Dolphins after he left.
On that guy who went to the Dolphins. He got 1 catch. That was a horrible trade. I mean, come on. They went into the season with no good plan at center. Our interior offensive line is not.
I don't
good.
know. I think their plan in theory was to have Lucas Patrick, a veteran center who knew the offense and knew the calls, and I think so. Their plan in theory would have worked. He just wasn't good enough. That's what it comes down to.
Yeah, I don't want to like rule out the possibility that Eberflus and Fields could still be gone because we saw the Chicago Cubs do something similar. Nobody thought they would trade David Ross or fire David Ross, but when Craig Counsell became available, they scooped him up. They got rid of David Ross. They hired Craig Counsell. I know it's baseball and whatever, but
it's right there in town.
They're not hiring Jim Harbaugh.
No, I'm just saying. I don't think they will. But they could and they should. You know what I'm saying? Because to me, I don't think Super Bowl winning coach and Matt Eberflus will ever be heard in the same sentence. That's just me. I don't think he's a good coach.
No.
I don't care if the players like him. The locker room is one thing. The locker room loves Justin Fields. The locker room loves Matt Eberflus. But in the end, Ryan Poles or Kevin Warren or whoever's making the decisions, that's another problem. Whoever's making the decisions, it seems like there's a bunch of people that got input here from George McCaskey on down, that probably have input into whatever the Bears are doing. And that's a big fucking problem because when you have a bunch of people who aren't on the same page, maybe McCaskey saying, well, Kevin, you're going to run this. And Kevin's like, Ryan, it's your show.
Too many
Ryan,
cooks in the kitchen.
Too many cooks. Too many cooks spoil the pot, AC, exactly. So, I mean, to me, the main question is you have to fix the offensive coaching. and you have to decide what you're going to do at quarterback. Because if you're going to move on from Fields, you better move on soon and get some picks before this draft.
I feel like they could pull it all the way up to draft night. I mean,
Yep.
I know he would lose some trade value, but
Yeah.
after the combine, you'll start hearing rumors of, okay, this team wants this quarterback, this team wants this quarterback, this team wants this quarterback. There's going to be a team that doesn't get their quarterback wherever it falls, and that would be a place where you could see them moving Justin Fields to. I know I said Atlanta earlier in the year, but I mean, you look at free agency, you got guys like Russell Wilson's going to hit free agency, Kirk Cousins is going to hit free agency, so maybe you'll see those players taking up some of those spots, but I feel like Justin would still have trade value to one of those teams. And
yeah, he's got trade value.
yeah.
I don't know if you get a second-round pick. We might get a third-round pick for Fields.
You say that, but look what the Jets got for Sam Darnold.
Sam Darnold, yeah. Was it a
second,
round?
a fourth, and a sixth for him. So it's all about how those teams view Justin as opposed to we're just fans, just us and George McCaskey. We're on the same level,
If you're talking about trading first-round picks with the Raiders and sending Max Crosby here, and we send them our, whatever, our pick, swap of picks, and Fields and Max Crosby, I'd have to consider it, man. Max Crosby opposite side of Montez Sweat.
Well, Crosby said that he would ask for a trade if Pierce wasn't held on to. But then you start looking at the cap and how much are you going to be paying both of your defensive ends.
Because Crosby's coming up. Has he been paid yet?
He's already been paid.
He's already been paid.
He's got the bag.
I remember drafting that guy in mock drafts in the 7th round. It was in Eastern Michigan, I think, or Central Michigan.
Yeah, we played Eastern Michigan with him on the field, and he was that entire team. He was that entire team.
I want to ask Jordan a question, though. If you're at the top of the draft, you have options. Say you take Williams or May, or you're trading back. What's your choice of quarterback? And if you're going to trade back, is that the overall preference?
What I think should/will happen is I think that, and some of it's just about like you wouldn't trade back if you had conviction in a guy because you'd be afraid to lose him. It's just it's too much like advanced math game theory. That's just not going to happen. So I think that Drake May makes the most sense because at the end of the day, I have plenty of concerns with all these quarterbacks and all these players for what it's worth, but. To me, when you look at guys like Josh Allen, Justin Herbert, the physical freaks, that is Drake May. And even if I have questions about how much he could stand up to, the media and deal with the criticism and is he ready yet? I think that's the guy. I mean, the reason I say that is you look at guys like Justin Herbert or Josh Allen, and they always find a way to at least make games interesting, entertaining. I think that'll be fun to watch. As far as, I know, the North Carolina, no thanks. That's the problem too. Somebody said earlier, like, don't come at me with the North Carolina number 10. That's the worst part is you're going to hear that thousands of times because people don't open their fucking eyes and watch football.
If it was any other team, we wouldn't hear it though.
Yeah, no. They just don't open their eyes and watch the fucking game. So it's amazing to me. But I mean, that's for the birds. Let the speds be the speds. So it's one of those things. So I think to me that's Drake May. If I had it my way, and I know this is going to set people off, everybody's like trade back, get some picks, or keep Justin Fields. Go ahead and trade back, and then go get JJ McCarthy at a range that is more acceptable. Because I'll be very quick here. Even though I've said this many times, I think McCarthy is my preferred option. And then people go, well, then why wouldn't you take him number 1? And it's like because even I could admit
you don't have to.
Today he's not number 1, but I'm not drafting a quarterback for what he is today. I'm drafting him for what he will be. And I think that J.J. McCarthy with 10 plus pounds in a year or two with, presumably a better team when he gets drafted lower in the first round
better coaching.
This is the guy that I think I'd want to hitch my wagon to. And to your point, Tooch, I don't have to take him. And I know B Mine is going to say that too. I mean, that's great. 27-1, won a national championship, beat Ohio State 3 times.
The kid is smart. He's from Chicago area, man. He grew up in LaGrange, Illinois. Come on.
And that's the thing too. That's the thing I hadn't even talked about is like he was a Bears fan. He understands what this market is. Yep. Smart kid, went to a blue blood program, understands expectations. So I mean, to me, it's I've never really, I don't think I've said this too loud, but I love Justin Fields. Even though I crap on him and say he's not the guy anymore, I liked him coming out.
God.
And the reason,
here it comes, man. Tyson Page and everyone.
That's all good. That's why I said let the Speds be the Speds. So I mean, to me, I just think it's one of those things that I can't help but look at it and see a situation where, to me, I've always said I'd like a redo with Justin Fields, and I know he's not 6'3", 230, but he runs the 4.5, high 4.4, kind of. Nobody's Justin Fields, but kind of like Justin Fields. Can lock onto receivers, has a little bit more of a deliberate motion, can take some sacks from time to time. But I think that J.J. McCarthy represents the best do-over you could have at this kid that has the leadership, has the knowledge, understands the market, blue blood program, the whole deal. And that's why I was like, well, if you like Justin Fields, you should like J.J. McCarthy. But
what game manager, man? Was it Troy Aikman and Tom Brady kind of game managers? You know,
I hate the term game manager, but
you didn't see him running around everywhere, you know. And
the funny part is
navigate the pocket, but shit.
Gentlemen, you know how much I watch Michigan football, and I mean, I know we've got KB here who watches Michigan football. I understand the whole like he's a game manager, but here's the thing: is it because he's been asked to do it or not? And more importantly, every fucking time, KB, back me up on this. If you want to disagree. Every fucking time he was asked to make one or two throws, he made them. Oh man, they won the Ohio State game by 7 points. Yeah, you know why? Because he fucking threaded a needle to Roman Wilson. Oh man, you know what? They beat Washington. Guess what? It was because of a 22-yard run, or it was because of a layered throw to Roman Wilson, or it was because of a fucking dig to Colston Loveland. Like, we can go down this road if you want, fellas, but like
he makes the right decision almost all the time, JJ. Man, that's why I love him, man.
But I don't want to take away from JJ, but how much of that is coaching? The coaches know what to do.
I guess great on Michigan. The coaches are great.
The coaches are great. I think Sharon Moore is a fantastic offensive coordinator in the run game. I think his passing concepts are elementary. I think that you have a lot of players that are sitting static and they're not. You want to talk about where were the crossers or where were the slants? There's not a ton of that.
None of them. Yeah, a few.
So I think that, and this is not to downgrade the Michigan coaching staff and Sharon Moore, but you want to talk about a guy like Liam Cohen who needs to sit and groom his game. I'd even be okay if Jim Harbaugh, who presumably if he gets hired, if he wanted to take like a Sharon Moore can be like your run game coordinator. I can't have him designing my pass concepts at the NFL level. So that's, and then of course, JJ McCarthy's a bum. He was thrown to Roman Wilson, who may be a 3rd-round pick, Colston Loveland, who's probably a 2nd-round pick next year, and a grad student named Cornelius Johnson that you know nothing about, Samaj Morgan, who's a freshman, and Tyler Morris, who's a sophomore that, again, you wouldn't know these guys because they're not thrown to Roma Dunze or Jalen McMillan or Jalen Polk or Adonai Mitchell or, anybody else you want to go with, Brendan Rice. J.J. McCarthy had none of those benefits. None.
Yeah, that's true. Are we just going to start talking about the quarterbacks in the draft now?
No, I just you asked me, like, who would I take? That's who I'd take.
I got Mike Tomlin's been in the playoffs every year of his coaching career. Had Mason Rudolph, Mitch Trubisky, and Kenny Pickett this year. Sorry. Pete Carroll made the playoffs last year with Geno Smith. Sean McVay made a Super Bowl with Jared Goff. Do I have to keep going on here without their star quarterbacks? A star quarterback helps. Yeah, we know that. But you need both of them to get over the hump, man. Yeah. You get to this win a Super Bowl. You need a damn good head coach. You need a great offensive mind. You need stars on defense and offense. That's what it takes. We don't have it.
I think sorry. I completely lost my train of thought. So I feel like Triple Stuck is arguing with himself in the chat. Because he said, what are they doing without their star quarterbacks? And then you start going on the list, and he said, all garbage quarterbacks.
I just named everything that these guys did. I don't know. Am I on mute?
No, you're speaking.
All right.
I don't know. I think JJ, again, I started watching him more and more when I heard Jordan wax poetic about him.
Proves the point.
And yes, he does make those plays when he needs to make them. When the game was on the line, it felt to me that Michigan turned to the running game rather than to JJ. And I just feel like maybe that's a knock against him. Maybe it's just the way his coach looked at it. I don't know.
I just think that's funny because and I need to find the exact statistic because people don't usually talk about this shit. This is just Jim Harbaugh football, and it's not even just about JJ. Andrew Luck came into the NFL with statistically way less passes in his college career than what Caleb Williams or Drake May or anything. This is just what Jim Harbaugh does, and I'm not telling you don't have to like JJ if you're like, well, he just didn't throw enough for me to draft him. That's fine. That's your opinion. You're allowed to have that. But to me, I can't help but look at it, and you're right, AC. I guess that was the thing is they had a hard on for Blake Corum, and I like Blake Corum. He's a cool running back. Every time they got to the 5-yard line, they were like,
he's Matt Forte.
Yeah, they were just Blake. Where you watch Drake May or Caleb Williams, and they're running read options and everything to get those guys touchdowns in the end zone. So some of those stats are missing. But to the point too is I guess I hear you, AC, but I watched him in the Rose Bowl against Alabama and the last game that Nick Saban would ever coach, and it was the fourth quarter when they went for it on 4th and 2, and it was kind of like if they don't get this drive, the game's over. And JJ McCarthy had to throw the ball, and then they ran it with JJ, and then they had to have him throw it again. They put the ball in JJ's hands when it matters.
That's true.
Nails. He comes through.
Yeah. But if they'd have hit their field goals in that game, it wouldn't even went to overtime.
Absolutely.
But I mean, I like JJ's fine. I like Penix. I think he throws the prettiest ball in college football. I know Jaden Daniels is getting a lot of love from Bears fans who see the athleticism. The guy threw for 4,000 yards and ran for another 1,000. I would like to wait until the combine to see his size. He's one of those guys.
Pretty deep ball too, man.
Yeah. I don't like his coach either. I think he's a dick, but it is what it is.
Brian Kelly, yeah.
And then we talked about Drake May
destroys
having the
college
size.
Football programs wherever he goes.
Hey, he's having a good time down there with his family now. But and then Drake May, he's got the size. And he has all the things that you look for in a quarterback. And then Caleb Williams is quote-unquote generational talent, makes all the throws, the off-platform throw. That's why people fall in love with Caleb Williams, in my opinion.
He's got they
see the
off-platform
arm, stuff.
Yeah.
He can work within a
quick
system.
Release.
Mm-hmm. But all the off-platform, and it worries me because they fell in love with Zach Wilson that exact same way, and didn't work out. Go ahead, KB.
I just want to answer this. What I like JJ and the Bears uni, absolutely. The kid's a winner. He's a leader. I've said my piece on that. From a standpoint, I felt like we never really asked him to go out and take over games or win games necessarily. That doesn't mean that he's not a good quarterback. If you can bring JJ McCarthy in and let him sit for a year or two, and he takes in the NFL atmosphere and he learns how to be a pro, I absolutely believe JJ McCarthy will be amazing. At that point, you can start to ask him, hey, go win games for us.
Yeah.
Right now, I would love to get him. Do I believe we're going to be able to get him? No, I don't, because he's probably going to go in the first round of some team, and it's going to be a team that probably doesn't even necessarily need him right now.
And that's all I want for the kid. That's literally
fine.
all I want for the kid.
That's fine.
He's going to go to a team that doesn't need him right now. In a couple years or so, he's going to start, and everybody's going to be like, why didn't we talk about JJ McCarthy sooner? That's going to be him.
Vikings or Rams, please, for God's sake.
I don't want to see him anywhere in NFC North.
Well, that's fine. You can send him to the Rams. I'll come watch him locally. He can sit behind Stafford.
He can go.
I wanted Levis to fall to the Rams.
That'd be a perfect spot for JJ. It'd be the Rams.
Because Stafford's got a year or two left at the advanced age. He's got the injury history. You know he's going to one of the best offensive minds who's going to coach him up. He can get a few spot starts if Stafford gets hurt and he has to kind of shoulder the load. I mean, outside of that, where he sits behind a clear veteran, because that's what I'm talking about. Everybody says, you love JJ McCarthy. I'm not telling you to play the kid early. Let him develop. The only way I would be okay with him playing early is if he was paired with Jim Harbaugh. And the only reason for that is I know Jim Harbaugh will take care of the kid. I know that he won't put more on him than he has to. So, for example, like if the Raiders ended up hiring Jim Harbaugh and they took J.J. McCarthy at 13, I typically would say with anywhere else that's a bad move because they will play J.J. early. But with a Jim Harbaugh-led team, I don't think he puts a ton on J.J.'s plate. J.J. will make his mistakes. He'll throw his interceptions like every other rookie quarterback does. That's not C.J. Stroud, I kid, but it's just that kid doesn't throw a lot of them.
I was going to say, Binder said that he doesn't think JJ goes in the first round. If he didn't go in the first round and the Bears somehow got a second round pick and he was there, I would absolutely take him.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Great. That'd be a great value.
I mean, it's hard for me to see JJ in the first round or a Bo Nix that some people are talking about in the chat when I watched my guy Will Levis drop to the second round last year. Like that dude had, I mean, and we saw it. Who was the second best rookie quarterback last year? And damn sure wasn't Bryce Young. I think it was Will. Will did what he had to do in Tennessee. He, when the game was on the line, he's going for it. They fired his coach, and we'll see. I think they're going to go with an offensive mind in Tennessee. But I just
to Falsetta's question here, JJ hasn't declared yet. He's supposed to.
Neither is Caleb Williams, right?
Well, McCarthy has said yesterday they had their celebration for the championship at the Chrysler Center. He said yesterday that he would be declaring today or making an announcement today. But here's my point: like, this is why I'm talking about him. Like, he's coming out, and is it possible he goes back? Absolutely, but. If you were going back to school, I would imagine in front of all those fans, you would want the public roar and appraise of going like, because they were yelling at him one more year. He'd have been like, I'm coming back, like they all do. For him to sit here and say, I'm going to put an announcement out tomorrow. It's let me get away from the public. I'll just mute the post. I don't have to see all the shit. Hey guys, thanks so much. Go Blue. It was a great 3 years. I'm on the way to the NFL. That's how you make that decision. So like I said, could he absolutely be going back to Michigan? Possibly, but I really don't see that as the case. He said this morning he'll be posting something, so I imagine within the next few hours you'll see an announcement that he's declaring for the draft. Why would you not? His stock is never going to be higher. He's got one loss on his record, won the national championship, all the talent on that Michigan team, and I don't want to say all of it, but a lot of those Donovan Edwards may come back, but Blake Corum's gone, AJ Barner's gone, Zach Zinter's gone. I mean, all those players are leaving to a point that he's going to have Michigan's going to be a worse team. So I just think he would leave.
Yeah. And I think if Harbaugh goes, he'll definitely be declaring. Cause
I'll tell you, that's the one that's going to kill me is if Harbaugh goes to the Chargers, he's not taking JJ with him, which is unfortunate because, I mean, we'll see if I could see the Chargers likely hiring him, but I also think the Chargers don't like a polarizing figure the same way that the Bears weren't even interested in Harbaugh because they don't like anybody that resembles Ditka in the way that they're a tough.
Which is sad because that's the guy who brought him a Super Bowl.
Yep.
Like
100% AC.
I don't know.
How about the game script today for the Rams-Lions with Stafford against his old team, man?
I've already bet the Rams money line. I think, especially if Laporta is not 100% healthy for the Lions.
I think he's playing.
But how much is he going to play?
No, he's not going to play for you.
Is he going to play like Komet did at the end when his knee was bothering him, or is he going to be the same Laporta that they've needed? I don't know. I've got two upsets in the playoffs. One was the Rams, and the other one's Tampa. I've already bet both of them. So,
I like Tampa as well too. I mean, the Eagles have their defense has just gone downhill, man. Now
Chris, are you watching these games today and tomorrow, or what are you watching for in these playoffs?
Yeah, definitely watching the games, fella. Yeah, because it sort of makes you realise that there's only like about another 2-3 weekends of games left in the season. Yeah. So, looking forward to the games. I mean, I don't really understand. Well, God knows what's happened to Philadelphia, that sort of, slump they've been going through. Especially where, they were sort of like 10-1 at one point or something like that. So, I think they're going to have a tough game, and I think the Cowboys are going to win it home out very early. Even though I hate the Cowboys nearly as much as the Packers, I just say anybody who calls himself America's team and shit like that. So, I don't like any of that crap, man. So, I've never been a lover of the Cowboys. But, I think the game's been, they've been pretty good. I mean, obviously, with the weather yesterday at Kansas, it obviously affected the game plan, but the game before that was pretty good against Houston and the Browns, and You know, before going into the game, I didn't think Houston would win that game, and that sort of makes you think about that thing about Fields is, well, what about if we do pick somebody and then like that's our Stroud of next season? Because you just see, you see what's happened in Houston and how far they're going into the playoffs now, and it's just that thing of, oh, what about if, or it might be, you know what I mean? I think they'll probably stick with Fields and try and surround him a bit, but yeah, it's just great to have football on because obviously the season's so short. So I'll be watching the games tonight, and then still sort of like, it's hard because obviously the Bears aren't playing, so the passion's gone because you're just watching it. Hopefully some decent football to watch. So yeah, should be some good games, boy. I hope there's some upsets, and I hope the Rams absolutely stuff the Lions because that must be hilarious. Whoa, Donny boy.
What about the London game? Are you going to the London game?
Yes. Yeah, should be going with my co-host on the British the British Bears podcast on BCP, a guy called Jason UK Bears. So he lives sort of quite near London anyway. So yeah, definitely go to that game. And they're going to be the home side team as well. So it'll be Bears orientated. I missed out when the last played, so that'd be really, really cool to go to. And then, yeah, still get back to America as well next season for a couple of Bears home games. So get ready for Carnage Mark 2.
Yeah, I had you were the first person I thought of when I saw they were going back to London next year. I'm happy for you as a fan to be able to see them in your backyard.
Yeah.
You would be able to host them this time.
Yeah, and the thing as well is I'm not been to. I'm not a massive soccer fan anyway, but I've not been to Spurs' new ground, and they actually have like an NFL pitch underneath the soccer pitch. And
cool.
like when they actually built the stadium, like the NFL made sure they incorporated like larger change rooms for the NFL games and stuff like that. So I think it's quite, always looks a really nice stadium. But yeah, it'd just be cool because it'll be predominantly Bears fans. But at the international games, it's more like a Super Bowl thing where you just see fans in loads of different teams' jerseys. Because obviously, people just come because they want to go to an NFL game. And I think it was the 49ers against the Jaguars when I last went about 10 years ago. And yeah, it's cool, but it's not as good as going to a game in America, not with you boys and just sort of, getting the real experience. I mean, surrounded by, everybody's like Bear fans. It was just amazing. So, yeah, it should be good, man. Yeah, I look forward to going. And, yeah, I'm quite glad it's not Wembley, really. I think Wembley Stadium's it's got a bit of a stale atmosphere, really. So hopefully that being a soccer ground, hopefully the atmosphere's going to be really good as well. So, yeah, nice chip. But the thing is that the Bears fans lose a home game, don't they? Because it's a home game. So I feel slightly guilty for that, especially if you're a season ticket holder. So, yeah, where there's a win, there's a loss, isn't there? Or maybe the other way around.
Yeah, I was looking at the schedule of the home and away. I'm not sure who they're going to be playing over there. I was hoping that they played because I knew they played the Titans. I was hoping they were coming down to Nashville, but they had the home game. So unfortunately, the closest they get to me is Indianapolis this year. But maybe I'll make another pilgrimage up to Chicago, and hopefully I can stick around. And I'd love to meet Andrew again, KB. So
yeah.
I know last year I had to hurry back home because I had to work the next day. Figure it all out this year. I'll be taking that Monday off.
Missed all the festivities.
Yeah.
All the pictures I took.
And I got my Billings jersey this year, so I'll be rocking for a big cuz.
Oh yeah.
I mean, look, this is the point, man. We don't know what Justin Fields could be because he hasn't had a chance or hasn't had coaching, whatever. I know people are saying, "Well, we all know what he is." We don't. That's why we're debating this. If they get rid of him, I'm fine. I'm still going to root for the Bears. If they get rid of him, we get better. That's even better.
I think it comes down to money. I think that's what it's going to come down to because quarterbacks, by the time his contract's up, quarterbacks are going to be asking for $50 million a year, and I just don't see that financially lining up with where we'll be at in the rebuild, especially.
And that's why you trade him now while he's got value before you have.
It's not even just that. Like if you're Ryan Poles, and I've said this for a while,
it's not your guy.
I'm not going to let my ship sink with Ryan Pace's quarterback. It's just not going to fucking happen. Yeah. And I can't guarantee that I'm going to have number one again. So, and this is the other thing is, if I take a quarterback, I'm not saying that you are guaranteed this, but you at least can make the case. Well, come on, Kevin. Come on, George. I took my guy. We got to at least see him develop. It gives you a new lease on life as GM if you select a quarterback as opposed to rolling out there with Ryan Pace's guy again. Like, it just makes too much sense. You think he's about to roll out and sink on the ship that is Ryan Pace's guy? No, I'm taking my quarterback so I can make a pitch to George and Kevin that, come on, let my guy develop. He's going to be
that's what GMs do, man. Yeah. He's got to buy himself more time.
And the second part of your point was very big there. If we didn't have the Panthers pick, we would only be picking 9th right now. Sure. We would have had to trade up for someone, whereas we are in the driver's seat in the draft simply because Carolina sucks. And because of the trade that Poles made. And, boy, he fleeced the hell out of them out there. He got their whole coaching staff and GM staff fired and pissed off the owner.
It's horrible.
Yeah, Ryan Poles is going to want to draft his quarterback, just like Justin said. So don't be surprised.
We've been on for almost 2 hours now, fellas, and
you got to be somewhere.
Well, my wife's kind of been texting me, wondering what's going on and how long I'm going to be. So, I mean, I guess we don't. Do you guys want to go around and make a prediction of who you think the OC will be, and then we'll close this thing out? I'll start with KB and go around.
Damn, man, why you start with me?
Because you're right under me.
You're in the counterclockwise spot down there.
Take it.
I won't Bevel, but I don't know. I don't know.
Would it be better if I started at Tooch and came around the other way?
I would enjoy that. Go ahead, Tooch.
Tooch, you got a name in mind?
I'll go with Kubiak, man, just because I love the San Francisco system. He's called plays, and he hasn't gotten fired because of his play calling. He's gotten fired because of coaching changes. His head coach was fired, and he got fired along with the head coach. So I think I know he's young, he's 36 and stuff, but if you want to get as close as you can, at least you're going to get the crossers and slants that we have again. You're not going to have 3 guys grouped in a 5-yard zone, at the same time and off, easy. It's easy for a defense to cover guys bunched together, out 10 yards, 15 yards down the field. Yeah. So I'll go with Kubiak. It's a young offensive mind, and I think you got to bring some. You got to bring some good quarterback coach, man. I would love JT O'Sullivan, as the quarterback coach, because that guy gets
Chase Daniel said he's available.
Yeah, Chase Daniel, fine. I don't care. Somebody who's gonna break it down like JT O'Sullivan. So, but Kubiak would be my pick at this point in time.
I wanted to. He was in Minnesota in 2013 and 2014. So maybe he's got a little bit of a relationship with Warren as well. I'm not sure the years that Warren was there. In 2019 through
that's about the same time Warren was around there.
So, yeah, that's a good name. Chris, I saw you do the oh shucks. Did he steal your name, or who do you got?
Yeah. Two stole my thunder, man. I'm saying Kubiak as well. It's just a San Francisco figure. Hopefully, it might be a little bit like how the Miami Dolphins head coach has turned out. Hopefully, they all sort of learn at the same place. Hopefully, it might be as good as him as a play caller. So I just like his pedigree and that he's done it before. I think we need that really, because they've had Nagy were a first-time play caller really, and obviously with Getsy. So I think we see somebody who's been there, done it. With Bermuda, I know he had a good year in Washington, but I still feel that a lot of his success was due to Andy Reid. and also the quarterback. And I think I don't know, it might have been Tooch on the Dan Alves. So it was just saying that he only actually called a real small limited amount of players, and they're actually only given responsibility for something like that. So I want somebody who's actually been on the sideline and done it. So he's my choice to me, mate.
Oh, good stuff. Good stuff. Go ahead, Jordan.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pissed off at Tooch and Chris because I think that Clint Kubiak is. I'll say this: I think that Clint Kubiak would make the most sense, and I hope that. I don't mean to sound this way. I'm not even as invested in the Bears as I usually am, but if I wanted what was best for the Bears, I think Clint Kubiak would be the guy. I mean, when you're talking about, I don't know how many. I mean, I know we know it, but I don't think the usual fans know this. Gary Kubiak was really like the brainchild behind the Mike Shanahan offense. Don't get me wrong, Mike was the executor of it, or the person that executed it. But at the end of the day, Gary was really in the background making it work. And if you want and you love that offense, which I'm not a huge fan of, but the Bears clearly love it.
I love it.
I know a lot of people do. I get it. There's no denying its effectiveness.
Yep.
Then you would be best served to go get the child of that guy, which is Clint Kubiak. Clint is born and bred in that offense. And that's even more than Waldron, who's got a variety of different influences coming from different places.
Yep.
So to me, I think that Clint makes the most sense. I loved his offense. Now, again, I don't love the offense, but when it was in Minnesota, I loved it. I was like, it's pretty good. Like he had rhythm. So to me, I think Clint Kubiak's probably the right answer. Although I will, for the Jordan's sake, the offense I like, because I know I'm like, people are like, how do you not like this offense? The offense I like is the North Turner offense. So to me, if we're talking about sons of kids, Scott Turner is out there. And you guys, the Bears will not be signing Scott Turner as their offensive coordinator. But Scott Turner would be the name I'd put on the table because he was the Washington Commanders offensive coordinator, not last year, but the year before. And a good mix of vertical passing game, running the ball, gets into a variety of formations. So Scott Turner is one of my favorite names that will not be a Bears offensive coordinator. So give me Clint Kubiak.
Could he be possibly a quarterback's coach or offensive assistant of some sort?
He could. He was an assistant of some sort for Josh McDaniels this year with the Raiders. So he could. But I mean, like real quick on the side of, I don't know if KB is going to go Waldron or somebody else, but I mean, we hear about Greg Olson. Greg Olson was actually the quarterback's coach under Waldron this year. I don't know for anybody that's not familiar with that. So it's a situation similarly where, to your point, AC, could you get another quality guy under as like a QB coach or an assistant? Absolutely. I think Scott Turner would be open to doing that.
Yeah. KB, you've had all this time to think, brother. Who you got for me?
All right. I'm gonna go with the real choice. He's been interviewed. I'm gonna piggyback off what my boy Jordan said. I am gonna go with Shane Waldron. Like I said, I've done my research on him the most so far. I would love a pairing. Like I said, Kubiak would be amazing to me. But you get Waldron. Waldron has been calling plays for the past 3 years, and he also had Greg Olson underneath him. So if it was a way that you can lure them both here, we would be getting, the most bang for our buck to me in that kind of context, because hey, you get the play caller and then you get the guy that works really well with quarterbacks. I like his scheme. I like the way he calls plays. Yeah, people say he calls screen passes, but he seems to call screen passes when they need to be called instead of calling back to back after one just failed. So I would take the Shane Waldron pick. I love the Kubiak pick. That he would be great in my opinion too. But if you put a gun to my head today and say who would be the OC next year, I would say Shane Waldron.
I like that pick as well. What he's done with Tyler Lockett, I feel like he could do a lot of those things with DJ Moore, and I've seen rumors that the Bears may be interested in Mike Evans to go along with DJ. You put him in that DK role, and your offense is cooking with gas. I love the Kubiak. You guys know I love the San Francisco offense. I could wax poetically about them forever. We'll be here for 3 hours. But if you're asking me who I think they'll end up with, I think Frank Reich is the answer. I think Frank Reich will come in, be the offensive coordinator, and really do all of the offensive things. And Eberflus knows he doesn't have – it's almost like when Nagy brought in Vic Fangio to run his defense. He didn't have to do anything with him. He just said, "You run your thing. I'll work with mine. You know, and if you want my input, I'll help you out. But it's your show, and you can run it." And I feel like they're going to look for something like that with an offensive coordinator. He has a history. He had 4 different quarterbacks in 4 different years at the Indianapolis Colts. He made the playoffs 3 out of those 4 years. Again, he went down to Carolina, and I feel like the issue was he didn't do great, but no one under him helped him out or above him helped him out either. The ownership was really had their hands on the draft and everything else and didn't let him do his thing. And if he's able to be put in a position where he only has to take care of his side of the ball and doesn't have to worry about anything else, I think he can succeed. And if you're asking me who I think the Bears are going to go with, I think they like all of those things. So I think he's the answer. Before we get out of here, we have 85 viewers currently, and we have 24 likes. So if you could hit the like, we'd appreciate it. Subscribe to the Barroom Net. Did you guys want to do shout-outs, or am I taking all this? So we'll go around and do shout-outs, and then I'll close this out. Whichever.
I'll start that. Of course, man. As always, shout out to my boys that got on here, man. Jordan, Tooch, my boy AC. You know what I'm saying? We've been doing this shit all year, man. I love the back and forth banner. You know what I'm saying? It's always good to go back and forth, even if we don't agree on certain points that others agree on or feel are right. That being said, man, shout out to everybody in the chat. Shout out to the haters. We know y'all in there. Shout out to the people that act like they know football that don't know football. Because y'all boost the views. It is what it is. Hit like on the way out. Eat a dick also. That being said, I had a fan reach out to us. Reached out to me yesterday named Blaster. Guy over off of Twitter or X, however you want to call it, saying that he's been a fan of the show for years, and you know what I'm saying, he's been a Bears fan for over 40 years. Shout out to him for reaching out just to say, hey man, I'm a fan. You know what I'm saying? That was dope to me because, in my opinion, man, it's just 5 assholes sitting in a group yelling at each other about football.
Yeah.
So I appreciate anybody who gets up in the morning and says, "Hey, I gotta link in and tune in with them because I fuck with them." So I had to shout out my man's. He also brought up a valid point. Hey, maybe we get to a certain point in May or wherever the case may be, April, where we bring in a couple fans on the show just to talk, man. You know, I kind of feel like that's how me and AC got our start. We were just fans, and we got soft fit that somebody showed us some love and gave us a platform, and now we're here. Like I said, man, shout out to everybody in the bar room, man. Everybody doing anything. Yeah, we're gonna hit a low point, kind of. You're gonna have some betting shows going on still with Tooch and them doing probably basketball if Tooch and them do basketball.
College basketball, yeah.
Yeah, hey, they'll be doing that for you so they can make you some money. You know, we'll probably have the movie show pop back up at some point. Who knows? Man, I'll start a curling podcast if we need to, brother. Shit, you know what I'm saying? We'll just be on here talking. But like I said, we appreciate everybody that shows love, man. Anybody that gets up in the morning and says they got to link in with us, bro, I appreciate it and love all y'all.
Absolutely. Go ahead, Jordan.
Yeah, man, as always, you fellas. I appreciate you. Talking about giving platforms. I could be sleeping still, and you guys invite me onto these shows to talk, and I appreciate you even rocking with me when I'm about as farthest thing away from being a Bears homer at this point. So I appreciate it. For all those in the chat, I guess I appreciate you being here. You guys know the real ones that are always here. We appreciate you. And, for the ones that have a Tooch on a heater this morning with blocks and timeouts and everything else going on.
Look, it's with some of these fans of the chat, it's either one thing or another. You know, there's no in between. And I can't stand that shit.
A zero-sum game.
You know, it's a zero-sum game. You got to take into effect context. They're like, now we're like, if we had the Texan staff here with Fields, then Fields would be the problem. Who the fuck knows? We don't know who we're playing. We don't know the rest of the roster. We don't know how hard the schedule is. Football's a fucking team sport, you morons.
I knew two chat. It was like a firecracker. Let me just light this wick and let you go. So, chat, we love you. Appreciate it. Please.
It's not a fair question, dude.
Like
we don't know. You don't know either.
like, subscribe, do it all.
Fuck.
And we'll talk again soon, I guess. Whenever we do draft content, you'll probably want me back on. But
Absolutely.
If they want to move on from Fields, I'm fucking fine. I'm not attached to the dude. You know?
Dude, fired up
Christ.
this morning.
That's why I was like, AC, I was like, let me just light this fucking wick.
Bias.
Just
Bias.
poke
I
the
don't
bear
give a fuck.
bit.
I told you I'm still going to root for the team, bro. But all I know is the coaches here fucking suck. Luke Getsy cannot coordinate an offense. Matt Eberflus didn't know what the fuck he was doing. He cost us arguably 3 or 4 games. You know, you could say
He cost us a playoff spot. If we win 4 more games, we're in the playoffs.
He cost us a playoff spot. If Fields is down if Texans coaches are up here, I guarantee you we're fucking better than we are now.
Yeah.
You know, are we a playoff team? I don't know. Maybe. You know. Fuck.
Okay.
I'll take a Snickers bar though, JoJo. I love Snickers.
It's like Jordan just put me like in a metal crusher doing this before Tucci's shout out. With Tucci's anger to these people, and he's right as well. This is like my least favourite time of the NFL calendar is the early off season, because all it is people's opinions. And some people think their opinions that right, but they don't really take interest in what everybody else is saying. And it drives me absolutely mad, because at the end of the day, we're all just Bear fans, but everybody's got the right to their opinion, if you agree with it or not, even though some of their opinions are a bit fucking dumbass, even for me.
Yeah.
But, just want to thank you boys as usual. You know, it's just such a... I hate this part of the year, because it's, especially being a Bears fan, because we know we're not going to get into the playoffs most regular years. So it's like a complete shutdown. But no, it's been awesome to talk to you boys. Shout outs. If there's any British Bear fans watching this, then do catch me on the British Bear Show on the BCP channel on a Tuesday evening. There's not one this week, but hopefully one next week. And we'd love to have a British guest on. That's the idea of a show, is to give people from the UK and Europe a chance to have their viewpoints heard by an American audience. So if you are British and get in touch, I'd love to have you on. But yeah, it's just going to be a really interesting off-season, man. I think it's going to be what could affect the organisation for 5 or 6 years. And you know, if it is a new quarterback, I just want the team to win. I don't give a shit about the name on the back of the shirt. I just want whoever's best to be the best quarterback and to be the best. I don't really care as long as we win. And another good show, fellas. And I will now delicately pass it on to Tooch in case
Delicately.
Yeah, I mean, look. I can't say much more than I've already said. I mean, look.
Please do.
Would these guys rather have like Jaron Hall, Nick Mullins, Taylor Heineke, Desmond Ridder than Justin Fields?
A lot of them would.
You know?
A lot
it would make moving off of that quarterback easier.
Fucking crazy to me. Some people would rather have Tyson Bagent. You know, Tyson Bagent is a backup. He doesn't have a third of the talent that Justin Fields has. Do I care if Justin Fields gets traded? No. Do I know that other teams would love to have Justin Fields play for them? Yes. That's reason enough to know. That's reason enough for me to know that he can play in the league. You know, and coaching does matter. These guys are all coaching doesn't matter. It's all Fields. Football is a team sport, dude. Football is a team sport. Is it not a team sport, KB? Last time we checked, it takes 22 guys and a huge staff of coaching, personnel, everything, and the Bears just do not have that shit. We don't have it. We never have. We never had a quarterback or anybody who could develop a quarterback here. That's what we need. If you want to bring in a quarterback coach and an offensive coordinator that can develop the next guy, fine. Then get something for Fields to help this team win. All I know is
Shorty, don't you fucking start it. I just see his comment. Shorty, don't you start it.
You know, all I know is right now at this point in time, we need better coaches. We need a better offensive line. We need a couple more wide receivers. And we need another pass rusher on the other side of Montez Sweat. And then you come back and talk to me about who sucks and who doesn't suck. Because we need, like every year, we have a shit ton of holes to fill. in the draft and in free agency. We can't spend a shit ton on an edge rusher because we spent a whole bunch on Montez Sweat. You have to draft an edge rusher or get some guy on the cheap. We need a better quarterback. Everybody needs a fucking better quarterback. Did you not see all these idiots who were playing quarterback out there? I just labeled a whole bunch of them. Well, one week we had Taylor Heineke starting, Nick Mullins starting, all sorts of backups that couldn't start on any other team. There's 32
Brian
NFL teams.
Hoyer starting games this year.
There's
Hoyer.
32 NFL teams, and there's 5 to 10 guys who can actually play the position at a high level. That's what we're talking about. If you want to give the Bears one of those guys, one of those top 5, 10 quarterbacks, or you think you can find him in the draft, then fine, let's get him on the Bears. But we still don't have coaches here that could do anything with anybody like that. That's why I said on Bare Their Souls that Matt Eberflus is probably the type of coach that needs a veteran quarterback where he doesn't have to do anything. That's what you have as a head coach. So in that case, Kirk Cousins would be the guy that would fit fine with Matt Eberflus. Because Eberflus cannot coach the quarterback position. He can't coach an offense. Luke Getsy could coordinate an offense. That's why he's fired. Matt Eberflus picked 2 guys who are gone because of personal conduct. He can't pick a coaching staff. He can't close out games. The game plan at the end of the 3 games we lost was crap. It was too conservative. When we come out of the locker room at halftime, we have no adjustments. I'm sorry. Give Duke his own show. No, my shout out to these 4 guys around me are the best. All right, that's my shout out. Aldo Gandia, who runs this thing. That's it. We're arguing. We need so many damn things on this team. That's the bottom line. I don't know whether somebody's going to be good here or not, but I know we don't have good coaches. That's the bottom line.
Yep. First and foremost, shout out to you fellas for coming on here with me this morning and chatting some football. Tooch needs his own show. He
no, my wife and your wife would probably kill us.
yeah.
We had our own shows.
So like, comment, subscribe to the Bar Room. They'll tell you when we go live. A lot of things KB was talking about. We're in the middle of hockey season where Vinny Parisi's putting in work for hockey. I got a
radio son.
I got a Bedard jersey for Christmas, so I'm getting into hockey. Unfortunately, he's broken his jaw, and it's kind of ruined the Blackhawks for me already. And
I know
it is what it is. He'll come, but he'll keep you informed on all the hockey news, one way or the other. Baseball's on its way back. Cubs convention was this week, so I'm patiently waiting to see what else they do. Please re-sign Bellinger. What are you waiting on, Cubs?
No one cares.
Wow, KB. A lot of people care.
White Sox country.
Okay. Man.
I mean, that's why you got Crosstown Crosstalk. It takes care of Cubs and White Sox.
Yeah.
And their 60 wins a year.
KB, you got to go on Crosstown Crosstalk or Southside Hitmen.
Yeah, I might have to, man.
Yeah, step in for one show.
Come out of baseball retirement.
They would love to have you on, I'm sure, man.
Yeah. So baseball season will come around. They'll cover all that. We'll come back the weekend after the combine, and we will talk about size, speed, all the things we see in the combine, and maybe we'll start putting out top 5 quarterbacks, top 5 other position wide receivers, depending on which way we're looking at it. We'll talk about all that stuff after the combine when we get real sizes on these players, height and weight, and see how fast they run, if they run, how well they throw, if they throw, and all those things. And then we'll talk about, we're sitting in first place, number 1 overall pick. So it's whatever decision they want to, whatever way they want to go down, we're in the driver's seat for the off season. Yeah, shout out to the chat, whether we agree with you or disagree with you. I know y'all pissed off Tooch today, but
oh no, I'm not pissed off. I just, I can't stand the
I didn't mean to light it back up, Tooch.
The zero-sum game, like Jordan says, man. There's so much nuance. You can't leave out the context or the nuance. And you You can't rule out the Bears drafting one of the top 2 quarterbacks and keeping Justin Fields because they
That's
can
true.
do that. In this league, you need 2 guys. How many injuries were there at the quarterback position? Justin Herbert was lost for the season. Who else was lost? Kirk Cousins was lost for the season. You know? Aaron Rodgers lost for the season for the first series.
Yeah.
You know, you need 2 guys.
Well, Mark says he loves you, so
That's my guy.
We love you too, Tooch. But yeah, just like I said, tune in here and we'll send you notifications when we go live. Tooch will win you some money on bets. I need to pay more attention to it.
I just dropped 3 plays. Let me flash them up here.
Lions over Rams.
Over. No, the total
over on the total. Okay.
Lions Rams over. Illinois -9 versus Maryland. And tomorrow, man, Niagara -6.5 versus Siena college basketball. That unload on that one.
Niagara versus Siena. If I'm betting
one
on
team
that
is
one,
good,
I might
one
have
team
to
is
call
the worst.
1-800-GAMBLER.
Worst in college basketball.
Well, so there you have it, folks. Tooch will give you points and win you some money on his betting show. I believe it goes Friday nights.
I gave out the under last night, Chiefs and Dolphins. That hit.
Yeah.
Free play last night. I forget what the other free plays were.
Y'all got to start pulling that audio for me, man, because I listen
it's
on
your
podcasts.
Twitter.
I listen on podcasts.
I know.
So I can turn my
Just
phone
let it run
off
on Twitter. Okay, you turn your phone off. I got you.
Yeah.
Sean had Chiefs -4.5 versus Dolphins. That hit. Anthony had Browns -2 versus Texas. That didn't work out too good. And tomorrow, dog of the day is Steelers +10 versus the Bills.
Well, I mean, maybe they'll hit it because the weather's so damn bad. There won't be any points.
At 10 points is a lot of points in a game. I mean, yesterday though, notwithstanding the Texans game, but
yeah,
you know.
Well, it is what it is. We'll like I said, we'll be back around combine time and talk some draft. But until then, we'll just leave everybody with a bear down.
Bear down.
Bear down.
Bear down.